unusual. There's inside the book. And how much does he charge you for these books?
There is price. Well, that one is a silhouette with grounding done in black, which means your paint is put on dry. That's fired, then your background is put in. When that's fired, you deepen any areas that need it, gold rim it, and that's it.
How long did that one take to do?
About a week.
Right, tell us about this one.
And this one's known as pen and wash. The outline of the ship is penned in with an ordinary mapping pen. The colours are then washed over it, and that one's had 7 firings to get the depths of colour in it. And there's a Milwyn Holloway design. He's an English artist and was done at a seminar. The brass actually took 8 hours to put in. It was all done with a very fine brush. It's supposed to be mount warning. The outline was then heavily grounded. This one is also a seminar plate done with Elva Jobs, the Melbourne artist. Portraiture looks easier than it actually is. There's a lot of work in that, and sometimes they take up to 10 firings. Just a scene off the top of your head shows what can be done with different effects of stippling with a special brush, clouds in the background. When you do landscape or scene work, your colour must go right through it. From the sky is not just blue and white, right through to the depth of colour in the foreground. The special interest in this plate, they say once you've made a mistake on a plate, it's irreparable. In this case, the whole design was taken off with Rusty Ban, a rust remover. It was then coated with a texture and another design put on top. And even close up, no one could pick that that plate was reused. It's a bit different to do to other painting. In this case, those blackberries have red, purple and a dark blue in them. There's actually no black at all, and yet they look intensely black. This one is pen work, hours and hours of using a mapping pen, fired, and then the combs and spurs on the legs were painted in. The actual work takes hours and hours with that pen. These are known as Josie Robinson roses, as they were done at a seminar of Josie's. I'm not particularly good on flowers, nor terribly interested in them, but the yellow of the sunlight must come through. Also, in any leaf or flower work, you must leave room for the air, the light, the bumblebees, as Josie says, to come through. Known as texture or fantasy work, this plate was done at a seminar with Lexi Watt. Sand was thrown onto the wet plate, glass beads were thrown on, thing was fired. We then painted in the water and the water lilies. Lustres were put over the beads and sand and textures. The figures were blocked out with a masking so that they wouldn't take the colours, and it was fired. In all, this plate's had about 9 firings and still, to my feeling, is unfinished. Another textured plate, another mistake plate. The design was again taken off with rusty band, leaving some of it around the edges. It suggested then the dream time to me, and the textures were put on, glass beads, petty point, which is put on with net, bridal net. The plate was painted and fired. The gold edge was then put on. Gold cannot be put over wet paint, and usually takes the last or separate firing. I call this a beginner's plate. My pupils do this their 3rd plate after beginning their lessons. The flowers themselves are masked out with a lacquer very like nail polish. The maidenhair fern is also masked out, and colour is applied in the background. Fired, and on the 2nd and 3rd firing, colour is added to the leaves and the throats of the flowers. Monochrome work is done in one colour, and this colour is called hair brown. Chinese junks are easy enough to do, but the white in any of these paintings must be wiped out. There is no such thing as white china paint, so all the white marks on anything are rubbed out through the wet paint. Another seminar plate done with Iris Hopkins. In this one, the blackberries have been done in a totally different way, using purples and blacks. I don't think they stand out as well as the previous blackberry plate. Australiana is always very popular. This one I'm very proud of, as I won a prize with it. The wings of the birds have been penned in. The heads, the beaks, anywhere where feather effects come in has been penned. The rest of it is painted in. I allow my pupils to trace, and even if I have my own designs, I still trace them onto paper first so that they're positioned correctly on the plate. This one has been traced from a Jolliffe design, and I enjoyed doing it, particularly doing the teeth. They are one of the hardest parts of any painting. This work's known as Art Nouveau. This plate took me a full fortnight to do, blocking out the flowers on the clothing with the lacquer and painting in. It could have been grounded, but I felt the paint would have looked too heavy and we would have lost some of the shadowing in the frock itself. It was a pleasure to do. I enjoy this type of painting, but I don't do too many of them because of the time involved. This one's a little different and it's known as petty point work, where a wet preparation is put over the design, bridle net is pulled then over it, allowed to dry, cleaned up and fired before any painting is done. This design was taken off a tapestry. Nursery design. Notice the bubbles in the foreground, which are a slightly different colour to your sky. The beauty of these designs, they're usually simple, but a lot of work has to go into applying them smoothly and picking out detail. This one's actually a quick fun article to do. The shape of the bowl itself determines the type of design you put on it. The white background, the china shows through on the white background of it, and all European style of work is done with this white background. Not that this is European, but that's the idea of it. To show you that any article is not too small, from thimbles, little jewel boxes, pill cases, bells, they're popular as gifts and fun to do. Cats are my favourite subject. The difference in these two are the eyes on them. The cat that you are now looking at has been done in greys and blues and has a much younger appearance than the one you will see next. The ginger cat, as we call him, has been done in oranges and browns, greens and greys. As I pointed out to you, he is a much older cat. Pen and wash work done on a porcelain slab. The slab itself is worth about $30 these days. The timber work in the background took a good fortnight to do. The silver edge, the whole thing was marked off with sellotape and the silver edge was applied at the end of it. I'm going to stand. Oh, I can stand this one. I consider this to be one of the best pieces I've done. The background is heavily grounded with the little boy painted in and the frog. Known as the Young Biologist, it's off a Paul Peel 1890s design. You can see what he intends to do with that frog. Lots of fun to do. Again, it's not really a nursery plate, but collectors of items, some collect mice, others collect cats. This is the type of work they would buy. The writing on the plate's done with an ordinary mapping pen. The paint is mixed to an ink-like consistency. After you've written it, it must be allowed to dry thoroughly, which can take anything up to a week according to whatever preparation you've put into the paint. It is then fined down as much as you can with a satay stick or a rubber-tipped pencil. I think mice are rather nice. Their tails are long, their faces small, they haven't any chins at all. Their ears are pink, their teeth are white. They run about the house at night. They nibble things they shouldn't touch, and no one seems to like them much. But I think mice are nice. An idea greatly appreciated by brides. Copy their wedding invitation onto your plate. In this case, I haven't put the names of the couple on, but usually it's Mary and John, the day and date of the wedding. The plate is then gold edge and they have a permanent record. Again, monochrome work, known as Delft work in this case. This plate is a seminar plate done with Louise Hopping. Pen work again with washes over them. In this one of the old man, the shadowing is put in with cross hatching, which means there is no washing on that one. The other one can show up the washing in the hair, which means just a layer of paint applied with a brush. The Gibson girl, Ruby I've named her, was taken from a China painting magazine. I like the softness around the eyes on this one. The face has been washed and the lips and eyes with colour. The hair has been washed with black. The old man has been entirely done with a pen. There's been no washings on this at all. He's had about 3 firings, each time adding more paint with a pen over the previous lot. This is also pen work, but done in an entirely different method.